and see, come receive, come and live forever. Come just as you are. Hear the Spirit call. Come just as you are. Come and see. Come and see. Come receive. Come receive. Come and live. Come and live forever. Life everlasting and strength for today. Taste the living water and never thirst again. Come just as you are. Hear the Spirit call. Come just as you are. Come and see. Come and see. Come receive. Come receive. Come and live. Come and live forever.
Good morning. Indeed, come as you are. We seek to live into that invitation in this place. Whoever you are, wherever you are coming from, you're welcome here. I'm Beth Hayward, minister of this congregation, and we gather today to worship, to maybe play a little, to pray, to sing, to be fed on the traditional unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. A reminder that if you're worshiping in this place, masks are optional. There is still enough room to move around that if you prefer to be a little more separate from people, you're welcome to move throughout the service. For singing, sometimes we'll tell you to stand up, but if the Spirit moves you to stand and we didn't tell you, go for it. Same goes at home. You are welcome to engage in whatever ways are appropriate for you. I picked one flower today on my way over. Luckily, there's so many out there in the Center for Peace Gardens that you'll never know where I got it from. So, John O'Donoghue, the late Irish poet, said that when one flower blooms, spring awakens everywhere. And so I want us to hold that truth and invitation, that reminder that there is so much new life and beauty in this world. And it's enough to sustain the rest of us, even through challenging times. So an invitation to you to notice in our worship today, where is spring? Where are the signs of life? What are the kernels of love and truth that you can carry with you into whatever this week holds? You're welcome here. Everything you need to participate will be found on the screen. Please stand as you're able and let's sing together.
Joy of heaven to earth come down. us be. Let us see thy great salvation, perfectly restored in thee. Changed from glory into glory, till in heaven we take our place, till we cast our crowns before thee, lost in wonder, love, and
I'm going to invite, if there's any children with us, to come forward and join me. Tama's away, so we'll be handling the candle lighting in her absence. But invite you to just come on up front with me. In fact, right up here by the candle. I'm going to be really bold, and you can stay in the shadows if you want, but I'd love it if you come here, and it's called Finding Your Light. So you're going to look up and see, come on, Ben, try it. No, come on up, right up here, yeah. All right, and we're going to see if you can, yeah, sure, you can light the candle right away. Come. Oh, yeah. I know you. Well, you know why I wanted you up here? I have questions, but also I actually wanted everyone to see you. And I know some of us are more outgoing than others, and it's like, look at me, I'm standing up front, and others don't like that. But mostly I wanted you up here. This place, back when I was a kid, this is called the chancel. Kids were not allowed up here. It was like a special spot. So I want you to use this as an example of claiming your space in the world. You know how kids sometimes are, you go into a store and they don't look at you, they just look at the grown-ups. That happened to anyone? No? It's not you anymore, Madeline, you're so tall now. But that idea used to really bother me when people would talk to my parents and not to me. No one else finds that a problem? Sometimes? Clearly, I'm the one with the need to be front and center, right? Thank you. All right. So we're going to claim our space up here. Anytime you want to come up front with me, my ego needs to be put into check, so come on up and just hang out with me. Mostly what I wanted to talk about just briefly, that light is a reminder of the light that shines within us. But sometimes I feel like things in life feel like they're going to go on forever, the hard stuff. Anyone? Sometimes you feel like the good things should last forever. And so let's remember today those signs of spring that I mentioned, because they are this example of they're just fleeting, but they're so beautiful. So let's have your chance to talk in the microphone. Anyone who wants it. Signs of spring you've seen this week? Anyone been skiing? You haven't seen mushy snow?
I went skiing yesterday.
Yeah, so any signs of spring on the mountains?
There's a lot of fog.
A lot of fog, see? Perfect. You seen any, Ben? I know you love a microphone.
There's a lot. There were a lot of crocuses around the neighborhood that I saw on the way.
Yes, so pretty. The purple crocuses. Anyone else? No way. No, it's good. It's good. So all of us, look for those signs. Remember to savor them because they're quite fleeting. But luckily, there'll be signs of summer before long, too, and all the seasons in their beauty. So thank you for lighting the candle and for putting up with me instead of Tama. And we'll look forward to catching up with you after service. Let's sing them out, everybody.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. nothing, and in my doubts, in my failures, you won't walk out. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. In the silence, you won't let go. In the questions, your truth will know. Your great love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness, I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. I won't fear what tomorrow brings. With each morning I'll rise and sing. My God's love will lead me through. You are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are the peace in my troubled sea. Oh, you are my light, my lighthouse, shining in the darkness. I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. Hey! Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. Fire before us, you're the brightest. You will lead us through the storm. My lighthouse, shining in the darkness. I will follow you. Oh, my lighthouse, I will trust the promise. You will carry me safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore, safe to shore.
Oh my gosh, it's so great to have the band back. I know we only gave 1 week off, but it was a lot. Announcements for today. Good morning. My name is Lauren Kirky. I'm the interim minister of community life here at Canadian Memorial. Just loving that. Thank you all for your hospitality as I take on that job. And we're going to play another Ministry Minute video in our What's Going On Here series.
Good morning. Welcome to another Ministry Minute. Could you please introduce yourself and your preferred pronouns?
Thanks, Lauren. So I'm Tony Peroni, and my pronouns are she, her.
Beautiful. And which group are you associated with at Canadian Memorial?
So I'm part of the connection circle that we call Christian Contemplative Practice.
Ooh, that sounds good. What's that all about?
Well, this is a circle that it's co-facilitated by myself, Bob Russell, Shona Moore, and Meg Watson. And we've been doing this now for about 2.5 years. And it's a circle that is really about supporting people in contemplative practice, which we call going into silence or silent prayer, and being in community. And we use various readings as a way of reflecting for ourselves and with each other. And then we meet on Zoom and share those reflections with each other as a way of building those connections and supporting each other in our practice.
That's beautiful. And why are you involved in that ministry, that group in particular?
Well, I would say as I'm getting older that my spiritual practice and spiritual path has become more and more important to me. But like many of us, sustaining a very, disciplined practice is not always the easiest thing to do. So being part of this group has really helped me stay kind of on track with my own practice. And then being in the circle and being able to connect with people, especially during COVID, has just been such a blessing. And it's really, and amazingly enough, the Zoom technology really has helped that occur in a way we could never have anticipated. So it's been great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all you are, all that you do at Canadian Memorial. We really appreciate you. And this is a wonderful ministry. And people can get in contact with you or Bob or Shauna or Meg if they're interested in joining. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to the ministry leaders who have done ministry minutes so far. And if you are a ministry leader and we haven't done a ministry minute yet, just a little nudge, please get in touch with me. I would love to do one of those videos promoting all the different things we have going on here. Announcement number 2, hospitality. Since the past 2 years, we have lost some volunteers in our greeter team and in our coffee and tea, food and fellowship setup time. We're really needing some people to be willing to step up and help make people feel loved and welcome here through the power of just saying hello and offering a smile at the front door as a first impression, and also as tea and coffee servers. If that is something that interests you, please reach out to Marilyn Kernahan and the hospitality team. They would love to have extra volunteers, please. Virtual coffee hour will happen after service today, as well as in person. We'll be having a little bit of a live coffee hour is back as well, which is always exciting to mingle. So after service, you can hang out here or go next door. Easter is coming up. Good Friday service, we announced, is going to be at St. Andrews Wesley this year. We like to partner with them on Easter weekend, and we are going to go downtown, Burrard and Nelson. Their service starts at 10 a.m. St. Andrews Wesley, Good Friday, 10 a.m. Hope to see you all there. And finally, check the website for ways to donate and support all that goes on through this amazing community. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the band and sing some more music.
Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears, then I'll sing you a song. I will try not to sing out of key. Oh, and I need help from my friends. Try a little help from my friends. All I need is my brother.
The first reading today is the familiar story of Jesus' temptation in the wilderness. And the second is by Shoshana Zuboff from her book, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. Luke 4, verses 1 to 14. Jesus, full of the Holy Spirit, returned from the Jordan and was led by the Spirit in the wilderness, where for 40 days he was tempted by the devil. He ate nothing at all during these days, and when they were over, he was famished. The devil said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command this stone to become a loaf of bread." Jesus answered him, "It is written, one does not live by bread alone." Then the devil led him up and showed him in an instant all of the kingdoms of the world. And the devil said to him, "To you I will give their glory and all this authority, for it has been given over to me, and I give it to anyone I please. If you then will worship me, it will all be yours." Jesus answered him, "It is written, worship the Lord your God and serve only him." Then the devil took him to Jerusalem and placed him on the pinnacle of the temple, saying to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from here, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you to protect you. And on their hands they will bear you up, so that you will not dash your foot against a stone." Jesus answered him, "It is said, do not put the Lord your God to the test." When the devil had finished every test, he departed from him until an opportune time. Then Jesus, filled with the power of the Spirit, returned to Galilee, and a report about him spread through all the surrounding country. He began to teach in their synagogues and was praised by everyone. This is the witness of God's people. Thanks be to God. And a reading from The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. Home is our school of intimacy, where we first learn to be human. It is corners and nooks conceal the sweetness of solitude. Its rooms frame our experience of relationship. Its shelter, stability, and security work to concentrate our unique inner sense of self, an identity that imbues our day dreams and night dreams forever. Its hiding places, closets, chests, drawers, locks, and keys, satisfy our need for mystery and independence. Doors, locked, closed, half shut, wide open, trigger our sense of wonder, safety, possibility, and adventure.
So we will be speaking about home today. Just plant that in the back of your mind. I've entitled today's sermon, Ethics, Values, and Silicon Valley. And I am going to be employing the tried and true preaching method of 20th century theologian Karl Barth, of holding the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the other. Now, we will get to the Bible in due course, do not worry. But until then, I'm actually going to use a book in place of a newspaper today, that book that was just read from, The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. This is a term that was coined by its author, Shoshana Zuboff. The book was published in 2019. And in that book, she claims that we have lost our sense of home. Let me start with a story. Zuboff tells a story from 1981 when she was beginning her career. She's a Harvard professor in the business school as a psychologist. She was meeting with people at a paper mill, and one of the managers said to her, looking at the changes technologically that were coming along, he said to her, "In the future, will we be working with smart machines, Or will there be smart people there too? She said that question echoed for her the timeless questions of politics, questions of master or slave, lord or subject, home or exile. And that encounter set the trajectory for the next 40 years of her career, where she would ask in many different ways, can the digital future be our home? Back in '81, can the digital future be our home, was a question of companies. It was a question of the workplace. Today, it's a question that touches our entire lives. Can the emerging information technology civilization be our home? Her answer, in short, is that our sense of home has been stolen, that our very future and its flourishing depends on us regaining control of our homes, reclaiming our power to know and determine the boundaries of what is sacred to home. She says, and I quote, "There's a universally shared ache to return to the place we left behind, or to found a new place in which our hopes for the future can nest and grow." So I want us to think about home and how it is that every last creature has this call to home. Think of the creatures you know and have encountered. For me, I go back 30 years to my encounter with the olive ridley sea turtle on the west coast of Costa Rica. The olive ridley sea turtles return to Ostianal Beach to lay their eggs. It's the same beach where some years previous they had been hatched from, but had never returned to. The monarch butterfly. When I lived in southeastern Ontario, the monarch butterflies would stop in our backyard. They travel some 4,000 kilometers between north and south, often with butterflies not even having flown it before. It's in their DNA, the where to go, to rest and to breed. Think about the creatures, the loons that come back to the same lake every year, Canada geese. Think about how so many of us have that longing to go at least once in our lifetimes to our ancestral home, or how many of us go way out of our way to pilgrimage to a homestead every summer. The call of home, it's innate within us. Nearly every creature, says Zuboff, shares some version of this deep attachment to a place in which life has been known to flourish, the kind of place we call home. And it's in the nature of human attachment that every journey and expulsion sets into motion the search for home. Finding home is amongst the most profound needs, and it's evident by the price we are willing to pay for it. So we can think biblically of Adam and Eve expelled from the garden. We can think of Moses and the Israelites, 40 years in search of the promised land. We need look no further than the 10 million people internally and externally displaced in Ukraine today to understand that home is sacred to us and necessary as a place where we learn to be human, where we find our grounding and our original place of belonging. All right, I haven't talked really about technology at all yet, have I? Let me explain what Zuboff and others are getting at when they talk about this loss of home. Many of you, some of you, will be familiar with Google's suite of products called Nest. The technology changes so frequently that I'm probably even speaking old news already. There is a Nest thermostat that came out just a few years ago. And you remember how I told you about the dog last week, Ibo? And how Ibo shows up in your house and uses machine learning to kind of figure you out. So you go to a house over here with Ibo, the digital doggy, and house over here, and it behaves differently. Same sort of thing in this thermostat. It gets to know your preferences and can almost read your mind, and it can connect to devices in your oven or your exercise device in your car. Soon after came a Nest product, the home surveillance Nest. And here's an interesting story. You know how people do like to bring down corporations and expose their, the shiftiness that can be behind them. So someone took it upon themselves to look into this Nest home surveillance system and saw that it has a microphone. But if you open up the digital, user's manual, there's no microphone. Nowhere does it tell you that there's a microphone. And so people asked Google, hey, what's up with the microphone? We didn't know that was there. We didn't intend to use it. Oh, wait, you can opt out of the microphone. Yeah, you can just opt out of that feature. However, we'll stop supporting updates on your device, so it really won't do anything but sit there and be a bit of plastic in your house. What these products do, in addition to the lovely things they do to give us a sense of safety in our homes, is they gather data about us. And for example, the home security Nest system, if you wanted to look at the privacy policies of all the other companies and places that they will sell your data potentially, you would have to read no less than 1,000 privacy policies. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? And then when the information is shared with these other companies or, governments, places in the world, the original company, Google, yeah, I'm picking on Google. We use it for our email here at the church. It's not like I'm part of the problem. They take no responsibility for what happens when it's used elsewhere. Okay, I'm not trying to shock you, I'm just giving you the facts. So Google really developed this idea of surveillance capitalism. It was Shoshana Zuboff who gave it this classy little name, but they developed the technology. Facebook uses it. Many companies use it, whether they're in tech or not, because it's extremely lucrative. And I think this is where I'm going to explain to you just what it is. Well, you know what? Let's just start. Before I tell you exactly how they scrape all that data, let's talk about capitalism. This is a really helpful way to understand what this sort of surveillance capitalism is. We know about market capitalism, industrial capitalism. What Zuboff says is, in that model with the Industrial Revolution, we took things that were part of nature, the natural world, and brought them into the marketplace and sort of monetized them, made them commodities. So, for example, famously, nature was brought into the marketplace and became something called land, which could be bought and sold. Work went into the marketplace and became something called labor, which could be bought and sold. Surveillance capitalism follows the same pattern, but, and I quote, with a dark and unexpected twist, because what it claims from the natural world is private human experience, to be brought into the marketplace, to be brought together with machine learning or artificial intelligence, and translated into something called behavioral data. So our private human experience is turned into behavioral data that is bought and sold to corporations. What they can do when they find out about us is they can predict what we are likely to do right now, in a little while, and down the road. And that's what Google learned in the early 2000s. And what they started to measure was click-through rates, right? So how if we're looking at something on an email, on a web page, how many times will we click onto the next link or the next ad? And they learned that this was very lucrative to be able to, I'm going to take my earring out, folks, so it stops clinking. Very lucrative to be able to buy and sell this data. I'm going to give you a couple of Zuboff's definitions of surveillance capitalism. I'm going to throw them on the screen for you so that you too. She has 8 definitions. I'm not going to overwhelm you here. The first one, surveillance capitalism is a new economic order that claims human experience as free raw material for hidden commercial practices of extraction, prediction, and sales. That's kind of what I've just been explaining to us all. Another definition, as significant a threat, surveillance capitalism is as significant a threat to human nature in the 21st century as industrial capitalism was to the natural world in the 19th and 20th century. Now that could sound alarmist, and it could, this is one person's point of view who has spent 40 years on just this question, and Harvard hasn't fired her yet, so I don't know. I think she might have some science behind her claim. But we can certainly, if the reference is what industrial capitalism has done to the natural world, yeah, that's huge. It makes it feel a little bit overwhelming and scary to consider this. Here's what this residual data is that the algorithms take from you. Say, for example, you post a photo of a birthday party on Facebook, or like me, you post a photo of eating outside, going to the jazz club. They don't actually really care about what you're doing, but they're able to take from that who else you've tagged in your picture, or just your face, right? And use it in facial recognition technology, or like the microphone in the home security product. Voices are as important as faces. And all of that data is compiled. It's kind of stripped of what makes it personal to you and is used so that things can be sold to us. That's basically about it. So here's the problem. And here, let's put up another quote. This is, if I put them in the right order for my daughter, which I might not have, it's hard for us, this one here, hard for us to have a concept of this. This is, again, Shoshana Zuboff. It's hard to have a concept not because we're stupid, but because these procedures have been disguised. They operate in stealth, engineered to be undetectable, to create ignorance in us all. They call us users. Our ignorance is their bliss. Our ignorance is their bliss. And here's the weird thing. So whenever people are surveyed and they're asked, hey, what do you think about this, that these companies take your data and use it and sell it to make money? Or, what do you think about the fact that you keep getting Fluvog shoe ads on your feed constantly? And everyone says, like 80% of people say, I do not like it. Doesn't feel right. Something shifty about it. But their whole technique is, like with the Google Nest, to kind of claim innocence, to only make adjustments when they have to, but really what the main goal is to habituate us. So, so you can take legal action against Facebook for doing something that felt kind of unethical with your private data, but they'll just take you to court for years on end until, 4 years down the road, people are like, well, what were we so upset about again? So you get habituated to it. All right, I'm going to switch to another author and read for you a quote. I've promoted this book before. I think I've ordered it for the church library, quite sure I have. So Johann Hari, in his book, Stolen Focus, Why You Can't Pay Attention and How to Think Deeply Again, he explains it really simply. A friend of his in the tech industry gave him this explanation of what the companies do with our data. His friend described it as inside of Facebook's servers, inside of Google's servers, there's a little voodoo doll. It's a model of you. And it starts by looking not much like you. In fact, it's sort of a generic model of a human, but then they're collecting your click trails everything you click on, and your toenail clippings and your hair droppings. That is everything you search for, every little detail of your life online. And they're reassembling all the metadata you didn't really think was meaningful so that the doll looks more and more like you. And then when you show up on, for example, YouTube, they're waking up that doll. And they're testing out hundreds of thousands of videos against this doll, seeing what makes its arm twitch and move so that they know it's effective. And then they serve that to you, the thing that makes your arm twitch. It seems like a ghoulish image. And then Johann, hearing this, paused. And his friend went on to say, by the way, they have a doll like that for 1 in 4 humans on Earth. It's kind of spooky. Zoboff says that we're actually working to preserve our democratic future when we push against this. She reminds us, too, you know how people will say sometimes that if you're not paying for it, you're the product? Right? So if you get your Gmail for free, you're the product. She says it's actually kind of more sinister than that because most companies care about the product they bring to market, right? They want whatever the goals are, they want that product matters to them. She says we're more like the raw material. She goes back to like the Industrial Revolution and says it's more like we are the trees that are left behind when they clear cut the old growth forest. She uses the example of elephants on the African continent, where they leave behind the carcass to take the ivory, that we're like the carcasses left behind, that we're just the data. Okay, so I could stand here all day and I could denounce surveillance capitalism. I could lay out for you the ways in which its underlying values of the companies, such as Google and Facebook, are detrimental for the flourishing of life. I could, as I have, made a case for why we must be wary of this stealthy business practice. But I suppose the question might still remain, why is it my business to do this from this pulpit? And I could perhaps be accused of being a little too socialist, maybe even Marxist. I could be confronted with those saying, you know what, we want government out of business, but we certainly want churches out of business. Stay in your lane. So let me be as abundantly clear as I can. I speak of these evils not because I'm a socialist, not to raise alarm, but I seek to incite in each and every one of us a vigilance in calling out and resisting the stealthy evils of surveillance capitalism because I'm a Christian. We should care because our faith demands no less of us. What surveillance capitalism does is perpetuate sin. You've heard me talk before about sin being separation. Let's call up a definition of original sin. This is by Marjorie Suchocki, a well-renowned process theologian. Original sin can be interpreted as inherited structures of consciousness acting as socially sanctioned norms that assume the ill-being of Earth or any of its inhabitants. These norms predispose us toward their perpetuation and inevitably involve us in sin. So sin is inherited structures that have at their heart the ill-being of creation. Original sin doesn't really come from Adam, but an acknowledgement that we're born into sin. What we're born into are sinful social structures, such as those that perpetuate racism or oppression or violence. And so surveillance capitalism is sin in that it its intents and its actions work for the ill-being of human life. They work for the sole purpose of profit. And so I lift up the story of Jesus tempted in the wilderness, not because I think that the devil's going to show up with horns and whatever it is, he carries the fork, and tell you to turn stone into bread, or say, hey, take that crazy risk because if you believe in that God figure, you'll be lifted up and saved from all harm. I lift up the story of Jesus in the wilderness because I think it tells us about the clarifying work that needs to happen as part of our faith. That the devil, that sin will show up in guises that are invisible to us, that in fact, technology has the ability to hide in ways like never before, evil intent from us. And many of us will say, oh, well, I have nothing to hide, or this is the price I need to pay. But it's not really. We can actually have at our disposal all sorts of amazing technology without having to hand over the sanctuary of our own home. 2 more points. I want to say that hope for change is not unprecedented. This surveillance capitalism thing, it's been 20 years. That is nothing in the history of the world. Look at the countless times that people have said, you know what, we went along with this for a while, and this is not working anymore for us. We are going to stand up. Back to 1989 and the Berlin Wall. Just go all through history and say, we have power. Governments and corporations are expressions of us, but people en masse have so much power to resist evil and bring about change for the flourishing of life. And so I know I've shared a fair bit of dire news. I want to end with a story that's a little bit hopeful, that just throws some light onto the ability of each one of us to be human with each other. And this story is told in Zuboff's book. It's in rural Illinois. The year is 2016. And there's an elderly couple. They owe $350 on their 1998 Buick. Still paying off the Buick in 2016. They missed a $95 payment with the credit union. And so a local, what do they call a repo guy, is sent out to their little house in the country to get the car back. And of course, he's met with a couple who had to decide that month to buy medication instead of make the car payment. And he thinks to himself, this isn't right. So he offers to waive his fee, and then they're grateful. And then he goes back to the credit union manager and says, I want to pay their debt. I mean, this is silly. And he's urged, well, just follow the processes, do the right thing, and just follow the processes. Well, eventually what comes to pass is that one of those public appeals are made for money to help the couple. And of course, within 24 hours, there's enough money to buy the car outright, to get it detailed, to buy them a Thanksgiving turkey, and to hand them $1,000 cash. When this man, Jim Ford, celebrates his 10 minutes of fame, 10 seconds, he says, you know what, no one should be making much of a deal about what I've done. It's just called being nice. Like, we ought to just be human to each other. And so it makes me think, you know what, church has a really long history of creating sanctuary. We call this a sanctuary. Church has been a place throughout history since the time of Constantine when people could take refuge from political persecution in churches and the authorities would not arrest you. If we're going to be church, we are to be a place of home, a place that supports systems and structures and ways of life and shines light on stories where people are valued, where their contributions are valued, where their privacy is honored, where their homes are sacred. Thanks for listening to my soapbox speech today. May the Spirit guide you in your listening. Amen.
Who dwell in the shelter of our God, who abide in the shadow for life. Say to the Lord, my refuge, my rock in whom I trust. The snare of the fowler will never capture you, and famine will bring you no fear. Under God's wings your refuge, God's faithfulness your shield. And I will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of my hand. You need not fear the terror of the night, or the arrow that flies by day. Though thousands fall about you, near you shall not come. And I will raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of my hand. For to God's angels is given a command to guard you in all of your ways. Upon their hands they will bear you up, lest you dash your foot against the stone. Raise you up on eagle's wings, bear you on breath of dawn, make you to shine like the sun, and hold you in the palm of my hand. And hold you in the palm of my
That is, that piece of music feels like a prayer because it's a psalm. It is a prayer. And so it leads us into this time of prayer. And just before you close your eyes and open your heart, I want to name some of the people that we're praying for today, just some of them, and I know I'll miss many. But we hold in our hearts today Ken. Ken's partner Elaine died yesterday. She had had a valiant struggle against cancer over the past 18 months or so. And Ken came to worship here 2 weeks before we closed, before the pandemic began, and then became part of our online community. So you don't even know him, and he's part of us. Our heart goes out to you, Ken, and the beautiful light that we've lost in Elaine's passing. We hold in our hearts today Donna and her partner, Chris, who is going through chemotherapy as a second treatment this week. We hold in our hearts today Heather Reed, who had her hip replaced just a week or so ago and continues to heal at home. Countless others. We hold Elizabeth Tanner's parents in our hearts in Switzerland, facing their own health struggles with getting older. Your prayers are held in this home, and so let's share those together. Oh, Holy One, like an eagle, you keep a watchful eye for us. You do indeed lift us on your wings in ways that are not seen but are known and felt in our very essence. Your presence is persistent and consistent. We are grateful for it. We name these prayers for the people we know who face their own struggles and griefs and challenges. We pray particularly for the people of Ukraine and their longing for home, the places in this world that ache for peace, unnecessary violence and hurt that we inflict on one another. May each of us find our voice. May we know the strength of community to create home, even in the midst of fear and uncertainty. We pray for all creatures. As in the Northern Hemisphere, life starts to come back in the countless expressions of spring. May we be part of life flourishing. Hold these prayers, oh God. Hold each one of us. Remind us that we are beacons of light, reflections of your great and powerful light. We offer these prayers and the ones that we whisper in the dark of night in the name of the prophet from Nazareth who taught us to pray often and to pray together. Let's speak a paraphrase of his words. Loving God, in whom is heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Let's sing together. You showed up today. What a gift. Thank you for your presence, for each person that made this place home today. If you want to watch the service again, it lives on our website and on our YouTube channel. If you want to catch the podcasts that I've been hosting in relation to this series, you'll find those as well on the website. It's also a place you can go to donate. We always appreciate that as well. Friends, it's been such a gift to be with you. Let's remember as we head into yet another week what a gift it is to be here, and to remember that indeed we might be called to places we've never gone before, and we go there together, blessed, embraced, urged on, and carried by God, Creator, Redeemer, and Giver of life. Amen.
Day by day, people getting ready for the news. Some are happy, some are sad. Oh, we got to let the music play. What the people need is a way to make them smile. It ain't so hard to do if you know how. Gotta get the message, get it on through. Oh no, mama, don't you ask me why. Say, oh, 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 listen to the music. Oh, oh, listen to the music. Oh, oh, listen to the music all the time. Bring it down. Oh, oh, listen to the music. Oh, oh, listen to the music. Oh, oh, listen to the music all the time. One more time. Oh, oh, listen to the music. Oh, oh, listen to the music. Oh, oh, listen to the music all the time. Thank you, everybody. 1, 2.